او د دې په کردار کې یو د اسلام هغه متوسط فاکټر چې کوم د اسلام دغه عادي کې پیدا شو او هغه خلک لکه مولانا ابوالکلام آزاد چې یو منل شوی ګڼل شوی نابغه په هندوستان کې پیدا شوی دی چې د علم مرتبه هم مستحکمه ده او د فکر یم مستحکم دی او یو محدث مو یو مفسر مو یو فلسفي مو چې د هغه دور په افکار باندې هم د هغه فکر محیط او د هغې نه مخکې چې کوم څومره ادوار تېر دي د هغې نه هغه ایکسټرکټ هغه مغز یې حاصل کړی دې اصل کې چې عدم تشدد ته متوجه شو نو د ډېرو خلکو په دا خیال دی چې د باچا خان عدم تشدد فلسفه دا د ګاندي تقلید خو اصل کې دا د ابوالکلام آزاد تقلید د ګاندي تقلید او د ابوالکلام آزاد د عدم تشدد فلسفه دا وه چې رسول الله صلی الله علیه وسلم ژوند که موږ وګورو نو په هغې کې دوه قسمه عملونه موږ ته ښکاري یو هغه چې د هغې عملو په مکي ژوند کې او یو هغه چې د هغې
very much for inviting me. I'm very honoured to be here on this day. And I didn't understand everything because unfortunately despite my 5 years or more relationship with Pashtuns in the tribal areas of Pakistan and Afghanistan, I don't yet speak Pashto fluently. If there's any Pashto teachers here, I'm ready to learn properly. I know a little bit, a few words here and there, but that's about all. How many Pashtuns in Australia, I wonder? I think there'd be more than are in this room. And I hope the next meeting that you have, we can double the numbers. Okay? Because as our friend Ghaffar Khan, Abdul Ghaffar Khan would say that there is strength in numbers. And I think that's where his power with non-violence came from, was the fact that there were so many people supporting his cause and the cause of non-violent protest. I'm going to read a little thing that I've prepared with a friend of mine, Michael Prato, who runs an aid organisation called Frontier Development and Support. We have a famous saying in English, short and sweet. So today I'm going to be short and sweet, okay? I'm a big fan of being short and sweet. So, as the Pashtun nation faces its greatest upheaval that perhaps has ever encountered, even under the British, my heart goes out to those living in Pakhtunkhwa and Pashtuns observing the destruction from afar, and that means you. Like me, in Europe and Australia, Asia and America, there are many non-Pashtuns who know the good nature of your people and richness of your culture, who respect and love it, and are devastated at what their governments have supported. Warlords and corrupt leaders in Afghanistan and criminal elements in the government of Pakistan. This is what our leaders in Western nations are supporting. But not everyone in these nations supports our leaders' positions. Although we should join forces in facing injustice, you as ethnic Pashtuns will be most effective in this. It's understandable, given the current intolerable conditions in parts of Afghanistan and Farah, that violent protests, suicide bombings and murder are occurring. But I know many of you agree this is not an accurate reflection of the nature of Pashtuns. Unfortunately, this is what is promoted in our media, and your image, even over here in Australia, miles away from Afghanistan, is affected by this incorrect depiction of your culture. Ghaffar Khan once said, "O Pathans, your house has fallen into ruin. Arise and rebuild it, and remember to what race you belong." He said this when the British were at their most oppressive, and it's more pertinent today than ever. But he did not advocate violence. Instead, he became a hero in a society dominated by violence and never lost faith in non-violent methods or the compatibility of Islam and non-violence. He viewed his struggle as a jihad with only the enemy holding swords. We think the NATO and Pakistani army of today is inconsiderate of civilians. But on April the 23rd, 1930, Ghaffar Khan was arrested during protests in the Storyteller's Bazaar in Peshawar. The British ordered troops to fire with machine guns on the unarmed crowd, killing an estimated 250 people. The British were widely condemned about this, as it was reported in the international press and policy began to change. It's very hard, I think, for people to understand how non-violence works, non-violent protest. You think, if someone does this thing, I need to stop them, I need to stop them physically, I need to protest violently. I think non-violent protest is not about being complacent or sitting on the sidelines. It's about standing in the way of people who are causing violence to innocents. And then it's about doing that in great numbers. And most importantly, it's about having the media there. And I believe this is the greatest weapon today. As Ghaffar Khan said as well, I'm going to give you such a weapon that the police and the army will not be able to stand against it. It is the weapon of the Prophet, but you are not aware of it. The weapon is patience and righteousness. No power on earth can stand against it. As the struggle for democracy and the rule of law in Afghanistan enters its 10th year, many wonder if we have lost our bearings on the road to peace. Foreign armies still occupy the country, the killings of innocents continues, while Western powers seem to have been tricked into supporting a corrupt and greedy administration that rules solely in its own interest. On the Pakistani side of the border, the people of Pakhtunkhwa do not have even this much and are ruled from Islamabad like a colony. And many lose the means of supporting their families or their lives on a routine basis every day. However, before we are tempted to despair, those of us who have made it to safety in Australia should reflect that the peace and security they now enjoy took much longer than this to establish. In fact, the three institutions that guarantee it, parliamentary democracy, freedom of press and the rule of law, took nearly 900 years to develop in the United Kingdom, their original birthplace of Australia. It's useful to dwell for a moment on this history. Britain entered its warlord period in 1066 when the Norman invaders divided the country into separate domains of warlord nobles under the authority of a weak king and a powerful but corrupt church. It took nearly 500 years for the king, in alliance with the common people, to break the power of the church and the aristocracy and establish the rule of law throughout the land. However, the kings then became tyrannical, and it took the people another 150 years to curb their power and establish the rule of parliament. Unfortunately, once in power, the parliament, in its turn, also became corrupt, and it took another 150 years to make it answerable to the people. The crucial means by which this was done was firstly the education of the people regarding their rights, secondly the establishment of a free press to observe and report the doings of government, and thirdly, perhaps most importantly, the establishment of a code of behaviour where politicians can be shamed into doing the right thing. The first lesson to draw from this history is that all forms of government will become corrupt if you, the people, let them. The second is that it is the duty of the people to maintain a constant surveillance of their leaders, to complain about bad behaviour, not only to them directly, but also to each other. This is the power of publicity, and in the end it's stronger than that of guns, since to every human being the only thing more powerful than money is the shame of being dishonoured in another man's eyes. Thus, when we are tempted to despair of the situation in our homeland and move to criticise the blundering governments of the West for wrongly supporting this man or that faction, it's well to remember that the power and responsibility actually lies in our hands, the voice of the people. Write directly to Karzai and his ministers. Tell them that they've been...
غير شرارتنا غير اسلام وجننا غير اسلام توهین او تأخیر اسلام ته بل شهید کی ما دا خبرون په خبرونو کې ویل وای دا آیسای او سی آی اس پښتانه نیسی دا طالبان نیسی دا خلک نیسی بیا دا شپو کیسی و تسلیمی پیسې پیاخلی بیا طالب و امریکایان CIA دوی ته هغه ورکوي د جانی واکر ویسکي شراب وای راوړي په بوتل کې ورته وړي په حیث د یو تحفې باندې از آیسا پنجابیانو ته ورکوي چې دا تاسو تحفه چې دا نفر هم راوست موږ ته په لاس راکړه لکه د څارویو په شان یو راباسي نو پاچا خان په هغه وخت کې دا خبره کړې وه چې پښتانه د پښتنو بدبختي د پښتنو زوال زیاتره په خپله د دوی له لاسه ده ځکه چې دوی همیشه پښتانه د نورو د ګټو لپاره استعمالیږي د نورو ګټو لپاره استعمالیږي لکه چې پښتانه د پاچا خان په وخت کې بوتل کشمیر پې آزاد کړ همدغه پښتانه خواران بوتل چې د اسلام په نامه باندې بوتل پنجابیانو خپل کار پرې وکړ انګریزانو خپل کار پرې وکړ په نوم د اسلام باندې او تر ننه پورې دا مسله چې یادېږي نو ما ته د پاچا خان یوه خبره چې د سلو کتابونو باندې ارزي یعنې سل کتابونه چې یوه خبره ده ولې د سلو کتابو ارزش لري نو زه په پاکستان کې چې موږ مهاجر شو نو دوستان راغلل زیاتره مهاجر شو ما د مهاجرو په وخت کې چې هلته پاکستان کې موږ وو نو هلته به ما لیدل چې نن یې فلانکی مړ کړو نن یې فلانکی لیکوال مړ کړو نن یې فلانکی دا بیچارهګان به د کمونیست له وحشت نه به راوتښتېدل له کابل نه به راوتښتېدل چې دلته به بیا دوی پې ورچنګاو شول پنجابیان او هغه به پې ورچنګاو چې راسئ دا والا اصل کمونیست راغلی ده دا مړ کړي نو دې ته ما هېڅ جواب نه درلود ما زیات کتابونه وویلې زیات مې چې د دې دلیل پیدا کړم چې یو ملت ولې دومره محقق ولې دومره دې درجې ته راورسېږي چې خپله پښې په خپله ماتېږي یوازې دې چې خپل ځان لپاره کار وکړي دوی خپل وایي ځان یې لکه مثلا پرون مې واورېده چې یو ډېر خوږژبی شاعر بابا یې وژلی په کندهار کې یعنې دا وژل خپله چې وژې یم هغه هم پښتون ده چې وژل کېږي هم هغه پښتون ده د دې لپاره ما هېڅ ځواب نه درلود چې د دې ځواب به څه شي کې پیدا کړو وخت چې ولاړو سیاستپوهان ټولنپېژندونکي داسې وایي چې چېرته ټولنه پرې فوقالعاده حالت کې راسي انقلابي حالت سره راسي انسان غیر انساني خواته درومي هغه غیر انساني خصایل د انسان راځي د انسان په هغې کې دا علت دي ولیکن ما اصلي جواب